our next generation ALM solution, and it's a new product. So from a legal perspective, it's the same situation as it is between the Business Suite and SAP S/4HANA. They serve the same purpose, but yet they are completely different applications. And if you now ask anybody from SAP, what is the go-to solution for ALM? Everybody should say it is SAP Cloud ALM. If they don't know, you know it, and please help me also to educate my colleagues. All right, we have one additional product in our portfolio, that is SAP Focused Run. With SAP Focused Run, we help customers to do monitoring at scale, 1,000 instances, 2,000 instances, 10,000 instances. And also customers who really want to dig down and want to do data-driven decisions by looking at what is really going on in the system. And we at SAP, we are our largest customer of SAP Focused Run. The SAP S/4HANA public cloud environment is completely monitored using our SAP Focused Run solutions. So sometimes I get the question, is Focused Run still strategic? But I believe after making this statement that the private cloud of SAP is relying on the monitoring capabilities, that's probably a no-brainer. Okay. Some more theory before we then go into the different dimensions of moving from SAP Solution Manager to SAP Cloud ALM. Here we have our product portfolio, including our strategy. So SAP Solution Manager, and if there's just one thing you remember from this slide, it's very, very busy. Today seems to be the day of busy slides. If there's one thing to remember, it's SAP Solution Manager follows the maintenance strategy of the SAP Business Suite. That means mainstream maintenance is offered until the end of 2027 because SAP Solution Manager is on one of the 3 latest enhancement packages of CRM. And after that, it goes into customer-specific maintenance. There's nothing bad with that. Customer-specific maintenance means that you can still open a call at SAP or a message if something is wrong. If we know the answer, of course, we will tell you. If we have to do some research, we reserve the right to charge for that accordingly. And there's this very famous note, 52505, that explains all of the details and technical restrictions of customer-specific maintenance. Now we understand many customers are using SAP Solution Manager to drive their transformation to S4, and maybe not all of those customers will be finished by the end of 2027. Maybe they will benefit from the optional extended maintenance in the Business Suite. And of course, those customers also get the optional extended maintenance for SAP Solution Manager at no additional cost. We think it would not be fair to take away the platform that drives the transformation. And so everything that you need for transformation, like process management, testing, change and release management, and ITSM, will continue to be available in extended maintenance until your project is finished, at the latest until 2030. Other capabilities that are required for monitoring, we recommend that you transition over to those rather quickly because those are mature and you don't need this as part of the transformation project. So this is why we have a restriction here. So you see, Solution Manager 7.2 for operations, that part goes immediately into customer-specific maintenance end of 2027. Solution Manager for the implementation ITSM part, also 2027 and end of mainstream, and as explained, with the option to extend. But SAP Focused Run and SAP Cloud ALM, we have really no announcements of any major maintenance events, so those you can ignore for the time being. Does anybody remember the one thing to remember from this slide? Solution Manager follows the maintenance strategy of the Business Suite. And now we leave the busy slide. Okay. What is happening in ALM is very similar to what is also happening in applications. I call it the modularization of ALM. Initially we had this big, very powerful monolithic infrastructure, SAP Solution Manager, with all of the capabilities, project management, process management, the testing part, the analytics, the operations, the services, and what have you. And now the question is, what's going to happen to all of that? And alone on this picture, we probably could spend like an hour or so. So we have those functional elements in SAP Solution Manager. Some of them have a new home in SAP Cloud ALM, and others have a new home in friends of Cloud ALM. So at SAP, we are not alone. We have lots of friends surrounding us, and we truly believe sometimes it is better to only develop an application once. So sort of like you could say, this is like our core that we would like to keep as part of our portfolio. So the process, project management, the testing, deployment, your standard things, your charm over time is also expected to be here, alert management, operation automations, health monitoring, that's the new capability that we have, user automation monitoring, the exception and integration monitoring, and of course the SAP services. And by the way, Uwe, thank you for also including the SAP services. They are sometimes overlooked, but super valuable. And then again, we also have other topics that are no longer part of SAP Cloud ALM. For example, IT service management. That was based on the CRM component. We have no equivalent that we can base on. So we rather work with integrations into third parties for third-party ITSM. So I got a question yesterday in my first presentation, what do we recommend to customers? We recommend to customers to go to their partner of choice for an IT service management solution. What we will continue to provide, of course, is defect management. So in testing, if you have a defect, in the past we would also use the ITSM for this, but in the future we'll have an own defect management mechanism for that. And other things that we have is, for example, we had project management and also financial project management in SAP Solution Manager. Here we only have like basic project management in SAP Cloud ALM. And if you want to integrate financials, we have our friends here from SAP S/4HANA. So SAP S/4HANA, SAP S/4HANA Cloud. So part of this could move over there. In SAP Solution Manager, we had business process intelligence and business process improvement. If you have attended, most likely you have the sessions today and yesterday, this is now part of the Signavio portfolio. So this capability has moved over from SAP Solution Manager over here to the SAP Signavio side of the house. Fortunately, that is included in RISE to a certain extent and also help. So you see, it's not only a functional movement, but also a little commercial movement in parts. But as we believe that most customers will have SAP S/4HANA sooner or later, that is nothing that would be additional cost. The Signavio topic may be different. And we also have other topics, like you probably remember that we had the MOPS, Maintenance Optimizer in Solution Manager. We already sort of like outsourced that to the maintenance planner. So that segregation is now completed here, the differentiation. And the system assistant, that was the security recommendations that we had in SAP Solution Manager. Also that has now moved to the maintenance planner, where I believe we have a new home, which is really good. This is the functional aspect of moving from SAP Solution Manager to SAP Cloud ALM. But of course, it also depends on your solution landscape that you have. Then we do one more. Okay. So remember I said we're building SAP Cloud ALM for future solutions and today's solutions with foundational support, and other solutions we will not be able to support in the future. So you see here on the left-hand side the big bubble of SAP Solution Manager supported products, and on the right-hand side you see the big bubble of SAP Cloud ALM supported products. And you clearly see, of course, there's a big overlap. And this is customers where we say we have foundational support here for Business Suite, Business Warehouse, and a little bit PIPO. See, this is somewhere on the edge because it is not really supported, but sufficient monitoring capabilities to keep it running. But you clearly see that with SAP Cloud ALM, we have clear focus on SAP S/4HANA Cloud, Fieldglass, Ariba, SuccessFactors, Commerce Cloud, and BTP. Those are also applications where it is very difficult to provide monitoring capabilities and also going forward other capabilities from a solution manager perspective. So Solution Manager really did not offer really good monitoring capabilities at all. And was a conversation I had after my session yesterday that I had a customer who really wanted to get to Cloud ALM as quickly as possible because they needed the monitoring capabilities. And you see here on the left-hand side, there's a couple of things that we did in SAP Solution Manager, which were also required back in the day, but that we are no longer pursuing in SAP Cloud ALM. And those include databases outside of HANA, going forward. HANA is the database that will carry us forward with S4. Here we were very open in the beginning, and that also contributed to SAP's success, and therefore we had lots of support in SAP Solution Manager. But with the 2027 and with the Business Suite strategy, we decided not to pursue non-HANA databases. And the same is also true for the Java stack, so the J2E engine, the portal. Those things will also find new homes, have different applications in SAP moving to the cloud, and also the business objects family of the house is not supported. I understand we have customers who might run on this longer, also larger customers who will retain a footprint there. For them, I have a solution or a proposal. I never have solutions, I only have proposals. Customers typically then decide whether this is a solution or not. Okay, now let's come to the topic of transitioning. So helping you to adopt SAP Cloud ALM. So from an overall perspective, without knowing any of your individual situations, we recommend that you request SAP Cloud ALM now. I mean, maybe not during the session, but immediately afterwards, before you move to the next one. And you benefit from not needing to do any more updates to agents. In monitoring, we monitor agent less. No diagnostics agent, no host agent, nothing on top needed. We use the built-in capabilities of the ABAP stack. So it's very easy to implement, also very easy to use. All the monitoring use cases have the same look and feel. It's very easy to navigate around. I'm definitely not a technical guy anymore. I was maybe 20 years ago when I did those installations flying around the world. There was lots of fun. That is part of my past, part of my legacy, I should say. But I'm no longer technical, but now I can log onto Cloud ALM and I immediately understand what the system is trying to tell me. And I think that is a really gigantic way moving forward. But we also recommend to use SAP Cloud ALM for the consumption of enterprise support, max attention, and active embedded support services. This is the new way that SAP will work how to deliver the services. And we recommend to use SAP Cloud ALM for those two capabilities, operations and services immediately. Of course, if you have a cloud project running, maybe there's like a subsidiary where you're implementing SAP S/4HANA Cloud, it makes total sense to start using SAP Cloud ALM for that as well. But here, I'm with my solution manager friends, you're probably interested, is anybody interested what's going to happen to Charm? What's going to happen to testing? Yeah. See? So for customers right now in the transition project, we say use Solution Manager to finish the transition project. Yeah? And for those of you who are heavily invested in Charm and in testing, we say follow our roadmap, look at what we have, decide whether that is enough, and when it is enough, make your move. So right now, we are still missing capabilities for those of you using Charm, because with the approval steps and so forth. All of this is on the roadmap, also for solution documentation. The first capabilities are planned to be released this year, with the completion hopefully next year. So this is gigantic roadmap sticker on the lower right-hand side. So here, this is something that where we know we need to deliver additional capabilities, and hopefully next time I come around to this beautiful country, I will have some more capabilities with me, and then we can discuss when is the right time. Definitely, if somebody is a heavy user of Charm, heavy user of testing now, not the testing part I come in just a moment, but the Charm part and the solution documentation part, we will. Always roadmap language. So we plan to have capabilities to help you migrate over. That is not the deal, but we need to have the capabilities to support you first. Good news that I have on the testing side. So we had great test automation capabilities all the time for SAP S/4HANA Cloud. We were missing test automation for the remaining parts, and we have teamed up with Tricentis. Tricentis test automation integrating in SAP Cloud ALM is available since last week for all enterprise support customers and customers with a subscription at no additional cost. Yes, there are some terms and conditions and so forth, but I think this is, we have not really announced this yet because it was too late. The release was done after I had submitted the slides, so that's maybe just one piece of bonus information that from a test automation perspective, we have taken a gigantic step forward. Now, of course, for customers interested in monitoring or who want to do more monitoring, clearly here SAP Focused Run is the recommended solution. I'll now come to some typical customer use cases and recommendations, and I will include a quiz in this one. Unfortunately, no option to scan and no prizes to win, just knowledge that I can spread, sorry. The recommendation that I made is move to Cloud ALM for operations and for services immediately, and look at what's going on the implementation side to decide when to make your move. So let's take a look at a couple of exemplary cases. So let's take a customer, and I think probably true for most of the room. Anybody here on-premise focused still? Right, so you are an on-premise centric customer, or you're not the customer, but your solution landscape is on-premise centric. That is the correct term, of course. You're still using Business Suite. Yes, we heard. Many customers are still using Business Suite, and you're using Solution Manager. I think we can check mark that one off here for the audience. But you're planning to implement SAP S/4HANA on-prem until 2028. So, what's going to happen in 2028? Well, you're still on-premise centric. That has not changed. But you're using SAP S/4HANA on-premise instead of the Business Suite, and you're using SAP Cloud ALM for operations and service. This is how we see the future. So, what should happen to help you get there? First of all, we recommend that you, as an on-premise centric customer, move to SAP Cloud ALM for operations and service. And we also recommend to finish your S/4HANA implementation with SAP Solution Manager. Once that is finished, we recommend you transition from SAP Solution Manager to complete your transition from SAP Solution Manager to SAP Cloud ALM by including the implementation capabilities. Pretty straightforward, right? That is a rather simple situation. I'll have more. Okay, so we have a customer implementing SAP S/4HANA Cloud. So the situation today is we have a customer, you manage change and you drive innovation in the Business Suite or SAP S/4HANA, and you have one business unit that plans to implement SAP S/4HANA Cloud. That is not as uncommon as I thought in the beginning. We have various customers, they say it's like a speedboat project. They want to move fast, they want to move cloud, and they cannot wait for the organization. So they make a bold move and they start with cloud. In 2028, the situation is, of course, SAP S/4HANA Cloud is a new component, potentially even earlier, and could be 2027, 2026. And the customer is then using SAP Cloud ALM for implementations, operations, and service. What happens on the way is that recommendation is that for the entire landscape, the customer moves to SAP Cloud ALM for implementations and services. For the SAP S/4HANA Cloud project, the customer uses SAP Cloud ALM, and the customer then continues to use SAP Solution Manager for the Business Suite or S/4HANA to manage change and drive innovation, and follows the roadmap of SAP, that's the part down here, and follows the Cloud ALM roadmap for implementation. Like I said before, implementation part, we are not ready. In the ERP language, would say this is a very significant simplification item that we need to work on. But there's a clear recommendation of the sequence. The only thing that I cannot tell you yet, what is the right time to do the cutover for the implementation part. Okay. Next question is, we have a customer who has extensive solution documentation. So solution documentation, business process structure, assignments, and what have you. And there's also test suite and test automation that is used. So situation is on-premise centric landscape, Business Suite or S/4HANA, big investment in solution documentation and testing or automated testing. And the solution documentation includes a very large number of documents. So in 2028, very simple, you are on SAP Cloud ALM doing everything that is required. But the way is, of course, the first thing that you do is use SAP Cloud ALM for operations and service. And then you continue to use SAP Solution Manager until the required functionality is available. We have launched the first increment for solution documentation, but we are not there where most of our existing Solution Manager customers need us. We may be there where our customers who have not implemented Solution Manager, where they would like to see us. But of course, for you, a couple of things that are missing. And here we recommend that you look at the roadmap and that you look at the transition scenarios, because clearly you want to keep your solution documentation, or at least parts of your solution documentation. That is the documentation how your business runs. And of course, this also should be then included in a transition project. Okay. One more, change request management. Heavy charm user or somebody in a regulated environment with complex change request management setup, maybe digital signature and all of those things. Of course, ideally, in 2028, we have delivered according to roadmap, and this customer can move over to SAP Cloud ALM for implementations, operations, and service. For the time being, we would propose that this customer, if permitted by GXP, moves to Cloud ALM for operations and service, and then waits until the rest is available. And what about customers with other ALM solutions? Not all SAP customers use SAP Solution Manager. We always have different numbers, but we definitely have way more than 12,500 customers at SAP. So here, customers are using a third-party tool for application lifecycle management, maybe it's because Solution Manager was too heavy. This applies mainly to smaller customers. And of course, we would like to make those customers happy SAP Cloud ALM customers. So we recommend that customers move to SAP Cloud ALM for operations and service, check whether there's any possibility to bring over data from third party, and then also evaluate whether SAP Focused Run is an option. Okay. Long term, I mentioned it, we have customers that will be unable to complete their journey to modernize their infrastructure until 2027. So here, what is our recommendation for customers who still need to monitor other databases? This is mainly service providers. So here, how do you manage your SAP portal then? Well, in 2027, they will still use it because they don't have any time, they have no plans, they have other priorities. So what do we recommend? Then we recommend to look at SAP Focused Run for operations, or to move to a service partner who is offering SAP Focused Run as part of their portfolio, and to also evaluate business process monitoring and business service management in SAP Cloud ALM. Those are two capabilities that are not included in SAP Focused Run, because Focused Run has a very technical focus, and maybe by adding SAP Cloud ALM for business process monitoring and business service management, customers can get an additional benefit that they cannot get with SAP Focused Run. Okay, on-premise focus beyond 2027. Oh, come on, that was way too fast. Okay, so operations of ABAP-based systems on-premise beyond 2027, so customers staying on ECC beyond 2027, and maybe even beyond. Here, of course, we recommend that customers evaluate the Cloud ALM advantages over SAP Solution Manager and evaluate SAP Focused Run, and then make their move. Do you see a common pattern with this? I think there's a common pattern. Let me move into one row. Then maybe we do one little sanity check here of starting with this guy here. So here, we have a regulated customer, complex change management. What do we recommend to this customer right out of the box? First recommendation that we give to every customer: So, anybody remember what we always, SAP strategy for customers when they ask, what should we as SAP say? And solution, use SAP Cloud ALM for exactly, operations and service. Thank you very much. Okay, my job is accomplished. You remember that and you just spread the word. Good. No, that really made me happy. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, and we have done all of those situations. Now, how do we help you? I mean, clearly, this is not a lightweight project that you should underestimate, or we should underestimate and say, oh, it's very easy, it's a piece of cake. It is not. It requires careful planning. It requires preparation, also change management in the organization very clearly. So what we have today is we have the readiness check for SAP Cloud ALM. And why, I don't know whether we have a disclaimer here. That readiness check is available today. And I will repeat this at the end of the session. Once you get home from this fantastic Safila conference, I recommend the first thing after greeting your family is run the readiness check report for Cloud ALM. Okay. We're also working on a methodology to transition, like we have a really good methodology to transition to SAP S/4HANA. We're working on a similar methodology to transition to SAP Cloud ALM. We'll have roadmap services, implementation services, and what have you. And basically a transition page in the support portal. So let's skip over those parts because the readiness check itself is partially also covered in the next session. So we're not going to demo too much here. So here, this is the result of the readiness check. So this is something that we shared with the German-speaking user group at the beginning of the year. Here, the situation is based on the usage of SAP Solution Manager. We will share with you what you are using, and then you can confirm, or you can say, I have used this, but really not my topic anymore. We stop this. And then we're going to tell you, then we're going to go down to the functionality level. We will tell you, this functionality is available in SAP Cloud ALM. Go for it. Or this functionality is on the Cloud ALM roadmap. Follow it. Or it's not yet on the roadmap, but we think we should have this, so it's in our vision. And we also have something where we say, okay, this moved over to one of the friends of SAP Cloud ALM. So for example, financial project reporting moved over to SAP S/4HANA Cloud, or like IT service management, that part unfortunately is no longer included in our portfolio. Okay, so we did that. And we also have the transition center in the support portal. The transition center, let's see if this can somehow convince this to start. The Transition Center is a web page in Support Portal which has all of the information that I've spread here in this room and more. It goes into the direction of explaining the maintenance strategy. It includes a video. Okay, this is not shown, so we're gonna talk over this here. It includes a video that you see here. This video has been recorded at the ALM Summit EMEA. And of course, we will do an update on this as soon as we have more information available. And it gives you also the examples that I've shared. And it goes down to the functionality level. So when you want to know what happened to solution documentation in Cloud ALM, we'll explain how this is done. We'll also explain our approach of how to preserve data from solution documentation. For operations, we will not preserve any data. Monitoring data is not that interesting after the thing has happened. So in operations, the transition is simple. You fire up your SAP Cloud ALM, you activate operations, you validate that it does the job, and then you shut it down in SAP Solution Manager. In solution documentation, we plan to offer selective data transfer for test steps, selective data transfer for solution documentation, and some other things, because clearly we see that there's a need for customers to get this done. So what are your next steps? Your next steps are to, first of all, learn more about Cloud ALM on the Cloud ALM homepage. To try it out, we have a public demo system for Cloud ALM for implementation and operations. You ask that you then request your own Cloud ALM tenant in SAP for Me, and that you then start using Cloud ALM, you onboard your users, and you become a happy customer to co-present with me at Sapila 2023. Is that a deal? Good, okay. This is just for reference. No need to read the links here. It's all in the material. Here's my contact information. You can contact me best on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there, also sharing content. This concludes my presentation. The time is almost over, but not quite yet. So I can take 1 or 2 questions. Yes, you have a question.
Yes, I have a question. So you mentioned that you are integrated to Tricentis for test automation.
It's a Tricentis test automation question, yes.
Yes. So I want to find out if it works with Solution Manager, and if it does, for how long? When would you be expected to move over to SAP Cloud ALM?
Okay, so we have 2 versions of Tricentis. One integrates with SAP Solution Manager. That has been there for quite some time. And we have one that integrates with SAP Cloud ALM. So, and the maintenance conditions that I mentioned also apply for the test automation. So the Tricentis license is what we call a term license. So it's valid for 3 years, and then it renews unless we post something on the website where this information is being stored. So you can continue to use Tricentis with Solution Manager. And also on our roadmap, we have plans to convert the test cases from Tricentis working with Solution Manager to Tricentis working with Cloud ALM. So that is also planned. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
okay, thank you. I'm sure we have other questions. Please.
I think the biggest question is obviously you mentioned the old charm one. You mentioned charm. Is there any way where there's any demos on the charm capabilities coming in the Cloud ALM space?
Demos on upcoming functionality are always difficult because we deploy daily. So as soon as we can do a demo, you have it. That's the point of it. But what I can recommend is we have all of the sessions from last year's SAP ALM Summit in Mannheim. They're all online. And there is one session that could be interesting for you, and that is called Charm Goes SAP Cloud ALM. And we will do a repeat of that session also at this year's summit where we update the information.
I'm not sure whether I missed your clarity on your relationship between your friend Signavio and Cloud ALM.
I can say something about Signavio. This will also be part of my final session that I have here out of the 4. I'm really, so thankful that we can talk so much about the ALM topics. So with Signavio, there's one part, and we'll also cover this in the next session, where it is about detecting business processes with the plug-and-gain approach. So this is now, we tried something like this in Solution Manager many, many years ago. That never worked to the extent that we needed it to work. So this is now brought over to our friends of Cloud ALM. And we're also discussing integration options with SAP Signavio. So integration options, can we reuse process models? Can we benefit from the discoveries that they did as part of the plug-and-gain approach, and those things. And the business process improvement part that was included in Solution Manager before, that has completely moved over to Signavio. Does that help?
Yes, so there won't be any business process mapping in Cloud ALM?
We will have business processes, and we can already draw business processes. We have BPMN diagrams in SAP Cloud ALM today, because that is really required to run and execute implementation projects. And that belongs to solution documentation. Okay, then maybe I can take this question here at the podium, because I believe it's now time for everybody who is not staying. But why wouldn't you stay? No, please find your way to the next session. I will take follow-up questions here at the podium, okay? And thank you.